This meeting is now being recorded.
Okay, we're off to the races now. Going back to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's change the view here. Slideshow. This is the CTEERS webinar. It's scheduled for an hour. I don't believe we're going to be taking the whole hour, but I'm just going to go over the brief points of CTEERS and some of the reports that are generated from your information you send in, and of course go over the field manual. So I like to call this CTEERS 101. It's just a basic overview of CTEERS, and of course take your questions and I'll try and answer them for you. What is CTEERS? CTEERS is a career and technical education enrollment reporting system. Prior to CTEERS, there was VEERS, the Vocational Education Enrollment Reporting System, and prior to that was VEDS, which was the Vocational Education Data System. I participated in all of the reporting systems since 1982, I believe. Within the acronym, it was and still is a student enrollment accountability system. And why CTEERS? It's an accountability system required of OCTAE, which used to be OBE, and probably another term before that, for state acceptance of career and technical education grant monies. Since it was a required collection, data is also utilized by and for the CAR, which is the Consolidated Annual Report that required of states in receipt of federal career and technical education grant monies. It's also used for civil rights compliance, choosing districts to visit for each year. And it's also utilized and shared with other agencies such as the Wisconsin Technical College System and Department of Workforce Development and within our own agency. And sometimes we get questions from researchers and others within the state and nationally. Who reports to CTEERS? Any school district operating a high school that is in receipt of federal career and technical education basic grant monies. The how of CTEERS. There are two reports within CTEERS. The first, the main report is the Composite Enrollment report, which is due on or before July 15th of each reporting year. And then a follow-up report, which is the Graduate Completer, Concentrator Completer follow-up report, which is coming due May 1st for last year's Concentrator Completer graduates. The Composite Enrollment Report is a report for every student in the 11 through grade 13 from each participating district by high school in the district on a one student record per line or row in the reporting file comprised of 33 columns of data per student record. We'll get into more of that in just a minute. The Concentrator Completer Graduate Follow-Up Report tracks is from the previous year and finishes the year's reporting cycle. The district contacts those students listed by means of mail or telephone to ascertain responses from student graduates as to what they are doing at a point in time in regards to their education and or employment. Questions so far? Okay. We're now going to go turn our direction to the CTEERS Field Manual, which is the Bible on CTEERS. It gives you the directions, instructions, and coding for both reports and also other information. Where can I download it, and what does it contain? We're going to go to the Wisconsin Public Instruction website, and you can find it within the divisions and teams under Career and Technical Education under Division for Academic Excellence, and then at the bottom, under Grants, CTEERS. And right there is the 2005 CTEERS Field Manual, PDF. It was updated just recently and placed out here. And that's your Bible for CTEERS. It gives you all the instructions for both reports as well as the coding involved for the reports. So you have a CTEERS overview with the introduction and the timeline for submission that we've already discussed. The composite enrollment report, student follow-up report, and district school code listing sorted by district name, and a detailed standard occupation classification code listing, which is used for follow-up, and a detailed instructional area code classification and instructional program listing, which is used for the composite enrollment report to assign to your CTE concentrators. Looking at the composite enrollment report, looking at the composite enrollment report, there's the directions for submitting the report, file requirements, how to name the file, which is right here, file name convention, and then a composite enrollment report element chart. If you take a look at this chart, it's basically the report is three areas of student involvement. The first area is demographics, contained student demographics, which runs from district number all the way up to high school, post-high school career preparation. The second section deals with CTE involvement for that particular student for the reporting year, which is whether or not they're a participant,
I'm sorry, what is
the
this
area.
For? Hello?
Would you please mute your phones, please? The second section deals with CTE participation, whether or not the student was a CTE participant in any one of the program areas within.
Yeah, hold on one moment. I'm going to get someone else on the line. One moment.
Thank you for holding.
Within the CTE area, whether or not that student was a CTE concentrator, the instructional area code of the concentration. Non-certificated learning methodology, certificated, and completion status of the certificated learning methodology. And then finally, the completion status, which applies to all students. 24 through 33 deal with that student's involvement within post-secondary institutions, whether it be compulsory school attendance, youth options, advanced standing, transcripted youth apprenticeship and transcripted with the university. All the codes for and for each cell are within the next section, and it tells you specifically what codes are used and the explanation of the cell. Are there any questions on the composite enrollment reports?
Todd, Brad Hay calling from Racine. Do you has there been any additions in terms of coding or content-related areas?
No, it's basically been the same since we updated in 2010. We had technical assistance workshops then, and it's been the same. The addition this year was there was some changes in how you use Excellion to get your file to me.
Okay.
You can read about it. It was just updated.
Sure.
Yeah, here's the submission requirements.
Okay.
We do this because it is student information. You have to use a secure file transfer program. We don't want it to get out on an unsecured email. So.
Sure. Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody have a question about participation or concentration? Okay, if there's not any, it's most of you, unless you're newbies, should be well familiar with this. The one thing is all reports are supposed to come back to me through the fiscal agent LVEC, either if it's the composite enrollment report or the follow-up report. The reason for this is when you do Perkins and sign on to the application, one of the things is you, as LVEC, sign on that as an assurance that the report will be accurate, concise, and to the reporting format. When it goes through the LVC, you're the final arbitrator of making sure the coding's right and it's in the correct form and so on and so forth. Any questions on that? Okay, well, let's move on to the follow-up report, which you should be doing now. Let's go through that particular section. The follow-up report, I send you back a listing of the concentrator completer graduates for the year in approximately November, December of after the student has graduated, for completion and return back to me by May 1st. On that form, if I can move to I'll show you. It has last name, first name, which is the LVC, and all this other stuff up to completion status, pre-filled out for you for your participating districts. You are to disseminate the appropriate files to your participating districts, or if you're in the case of a single district, and they are to contact the students and then code that information that they get from either the students or a secondary party back into this form and return it to me. The areas that need to be filled are the contact status, education status, employment status, And if it's 1 or 2, then you put in hours that they've worked during the week, the particular standard occupation classification code, and then the hourly wage for that person. The program area is already pre-filled on the form, and it relates back to their instructional area code. So if you have a instructional area code of 101, that program area is going to be ag, and so on and so forth. Any questions on the follow-up? Okay.
Mine? No.
Sorry, Don. Yes, I do. What kind of percentage?
Okay, go ahead.
What kind of percentage do you need on that follow-up report to make it valid for each district?
Well, it's always been a long-standing percentage of 80% or better, but as students get more mobile over the years, we're trying to shoot for 75%.
Okay, because urban districts are having challenges reaching that goal.
Right,
so I just
because
want to be
of
aware
this.
of that.
Yeah, I understand that. Milwaukee is a particular case,
Sure.
and it's very difficult to reach students because students are mobile nowadays. They don't respond to mail, and it's difficult. I understand that. One of the things that a few years ago, I was at a district, and they mentioned that they use Facebook and social media to keep in touch with their ex-students, and they use that for follow-up. So it's one aspect to pursue in trying to alleviate that problem.
Yes, and if you can find cell phone numbers before they leave the district and graduate, oftentimes the cell phone numbers don't change. Home phone numbers can when they move around, but cell phone numbers are usually pretty consistent.
Right. They tend to keep their cell phone numbers for friends and family, so that's a good point. Anything else? Okay. Well, if there's not, we'll move on to accountability. How's that? Okay. We do CTERS because of student accountability, which I mentioned earlier. Accountability is our secondary core indicators using CTERS concentrators. And we have 6 core indicators. 2 of them deal with academic attainment and reading and math. And this gets back, the core indicators gets reported back to Octave through the CAR. You can see the particular core indicators and its definition and by numerator and denominator. First 2 are, as I mentioned, reading and math through academic attainment. The 3rd is technical skill attainment, which deals with certificated work methodologies. The 3S1 and 4S1 deal with graduation rates, and they're the same. 5S1 is secondary placement, which that's what follow-up comes into play. That's how we get the information for follow-up. And finally, 6S1, 6S2 deal with non-trad participation and completion. The accountability process in regard to the state, we negotiate with Octave regional account specialists on yearly performance levels. In fact, we're doing that right now, or I am. The data is then reported through the CAR. Districts in receipt of CPA funding are informed of their core indicator performance levels by means of the local district profile. We'll show you that in a minute. If they do not meet a level through the absolute or progress means, the core indicator must be addressed within the next application process. There are improvement plans. If a state or local fails to make at least 90% of a performance level on any of the core indicators, they must develop and implement an improvement plan. We as a state, we had to address 2 in last year's CAR, 1 in mathematics. We were a touch lower than our level. And then also in Success 1, non-trad participation. The big thing is if we as a state or you as a local fail to meet 90% of an indicator 3 years in a row, then funds could be withheld fully or partially, or withheld funds could be used by the state or another eligible recipient to provide services to the remedy. So far, we haven't had that, so that's a good thing. And here are the... Hello?
I was just going to ask, Don, I'm sorry. No, I forgot what I was going to ask. How is that communicated with the local districts then, if they are in that status? If they're for the 3 years in a row?
Right. Last 2 years we've been using we did the form, and it's now called non-performance form. And then the particular database there shows if you're in compliance with the core indicator or not. And then within that form, there's also, or database, there's also the 3-year indication if you had failed to meet the 3-year progress. So
what does it go to superintendents if we're not meeting that?
Not really a letter. It would, you as an LVC would look at that, and if you're in 3 years in non-compliance, then you have to develop within the non-compliance form a program improvement plan for that particular core indicator, and you must use CPA funds to remedy the situation in addition maybe to local funds.
Sure.
And it would be the paramount core indicator to use the funds on.
Okay.
Don, this is Candy up at CISA 10. I have a question in reference to the academic attainment for reading and math. Currently, those rates are based on the WKCE test results, and as we now know, the state for this year has moved to the smarter balance. Next year is an unknown factor. Has there been discussion in the adjustment of any state levels because our testing system is changing? Do you know where that's going?
Yes, I'm aware of that. Fortunately, because our testing is based on 10th grade, senior 10th grade test scores, we have 2 years left remaining on WKCE before we have to address that. So WKCE will still be in effect, and we'll use those test scores for the next 2 years. So it'll be for 15 and 16, this year and next year. And then at that point, we will have to address the change and the ranking system. And we'll have to address that with our regional account specialist and redoing the core indicators. maybe at that point we will have a new Perkins, so I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath, though. Any other questions on accountability as far as the core indicators or the process? Okay, we're going to move on now. So these are the fruits of your labor, the district profiles, the NTO files, and the basic facts. So we're going to be going through those, where to find them, and how to utilize them. So I'm going to escape out of here and going back to the website. And we'll go back. Go back to the website, so it's under the CTEERS, CTE Education Enrollment Reporting System page. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see district and NTO profiles. And again, those are primarily for the core indicators. But the database is now included within the non-performance form for Perkins applications. So all these are district profiles, and they detail the core indicators for all the different reporting years. For example, the last reporting year was 12-13. So it indicates the core indicator. The state standard have negotiated, and the LEA data, and whether or not they were in compliance under with the state standard, or under progress, and also 3 years continuous improvement is indicated there, along with for all 6 core indicators. And then we also have this section on the state measures, which deal with special populations and equity or program participation. And those, like I said, can be located on the CTEERS website. Any questions about the district profiles? Okay, we're going to go back. The NTO reporting profiles, these deal with your reporting on concentrators and the rate, if the instructional area codes were designated as a non-traditional instructional area code or not, and it measures whether or not the gender, how many persons of either sex were within that particular instructional area code, and gives you a percentage breakout for the district as a whole for non-trad reporting on concentrators. So if you just, the state is taken up here by this whole area, but if you click on the district naming, just select your district name, we'll do Algoma, and those are all the instructional area codes that they identified as being their concentrators. And then the program area, how many females were in that particular instructional area code, males, the total, whether or not that particular instructional area code is a non-traditional occupation, and then what gender it is underrepresented within that instructional area code, and then we get a percentage by instructional area code and by the district. So, pretty straightforward. Any questions on that?
Don, I put a question in the chat. This is Sheila Hibner. Maybe I put it in the wrong spot. We in our consortium often banter about how we're defining concentrators. Could you cover that?
Sure. Concentrators are defined as a student that has taken 3 or more courses within a CTE that lead to an occupational competency within a program of study. So it could be, example, you all have courses identified within your programs, published programs of study that are up and running. So those courses are identified in the program of study, and they should be coherent. And if the student has taken them, they would be a concentrator.
That's what I thought. So they do not have to have a work-based learning component?
No, that is not necessary. Although it would be nice. We still see a lot of districts that have non-certificated work-based methodologies. I would advise that you try and get those to certificated work methodologies. It's a benefit for the student. For one thing, it's value added to their education.
Yeah, we believe in that as well. There's just, I've heard a lot of conversation about whether it has to have, a concentrator has to have a work-based learning component.
No.
Yeah, that's not required.
No. No, as long as they're taking the courses and it's coherent and leading to occupational competency by the end of their high school experience, they are a concentrator.
Okay, great.
Don,
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Miller from Green Bay. You may have covered this already, and I do apologize if I missed it. The files that are due for submission, this is my first year, and our former LVC left and kind of not sure when files are due. Are we always email when a file is due, or where can I go to find out when different things are due?
Okay, that is within the field manual, which is the Bible for CTEERS. The composite enrollment report is due on or before July 15th. It used to be July 1st, but we realized that some districts were still, they didn't have time to gather the information because they ran late into June or whatever. And then the follow-up, which is due on or before May 1st, is coming up. And that's for the graduate concentrator completers for 2014.
Are those the only 2 files that are due?
Right, for CTEERS, yes.
CTEERS, okay. All right, thank you.
But that's, there's other files due for the application and stuff like that, but we're just dealing with CTEERS here right now.
Yep, got it. And so when will I get the link for the follow-up report? Or should I have gotten it?
Oh, the follow-up went out in November. No, I believe it was the first of late November of this year, last year rather. So you should have, or the LVCF record should have received that, in December of last year.
Okay.
If you are lacking it, or you can't find it, send me an email immediately and I'll get it to you.
Okay. Well, I'll take, I'm also in charge of all the assessments, and so I'll be honest with you, December feels like a lifetime ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We're going to go back here, and then we're going to look at basic facts. If you're not aware, we do basic facts and, based on the composite enrollment report, and then follow-up. The last available year is 2013. 2014 will be available as soon as follow-up comes in and is processed. I believe, okay, here it is. I believe there are instructions right here on this page. There are CTEERS basic fact instructions on how to utilize the file and compare one district to another, or your district to the state, so on and so forth. And you can now you can compare your district year to year, or I believe it's 3 years going. So let's go back to the basic facts. This is the comparison of one sheet to another. You go into basic facts and select. This case, we're going to select our state, the state total, and it brings up the state. But if you click on you can bring up your district in total. And then it shows the numbers and percentages of the universe, non-CTE participation, CTE participants, and CTE concentrators, and their percentage of total. So it's broken out basically by the number of the cells in the composite enrollment report. So you have grade, sex, ethnicity, characteristics, teen single parent, non-residents, student progress, completion status, program participation, your learning methodologies, and then the various post-secondary involvements with tech prep and youth apprenticeship, and then at the end is the actual follow-up for that particular reporting year. So you could choose. We're going to choose. So you can put in another district or another school within your district and compare. You can compare state to state, and then once you've selected the 1 and 2, what you want to compare, you go back to the basic facts comparison, and then you could see how that relates from the year or the districts or the various comparisons. Anything that's +3 or -3 is going to be highlighted in bold, such as this. So it's fairly straightforward, but it does give you quite a bit of information, and coming from the 2 reports. Any questions on the basic facts?
Yeah, I do, Don. Now that I think about it, Brad Haig again, we're seeing.
Sure, Brad.
Can we use this data from the tables that you provide to come up with one sheet program information to share with parents and school boards, et cetera, or do we need to copy what's there out into another spreadsheet to do that? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
you need to copy it out, or unprotected.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
you can print it up, or actually once you download it, I believe it's protected because there's calculations on percentage and totals. It's bringing it up from a database.
Sure.
But if you simply unprotect the sheet, then you can select a particular area you want, and then copy it over to another worksheet, and make sure you have to do you copy the section,
Sure.
and then you need to do a paste special values,
Right.
because of the calculations within it will not transfer over.
Gotcha.
Anything else?
And to unprotect it, how did you do that unprotected? Did you just right-click on the bottom somewhere on one of the tabs?
Right. So basic facts, it says protect sheet. Well, I'm not putting in there's no password to it.
Okay.
So you just do unprotect, and it unprotects the sheet.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Very helpful.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, that's about it. For the presentation. So I want to thank you for participating, and if you have any further questions, you can either give me a phone call at 608-267-2279 or email me at don.vetter@wisconsin.gov. And I thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Don.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.